let's bring in, I should say, Scott Bauer, because while that's a look at some of the stocks I've got on my radar, he's got a couple on his that he wants to bring to our attention as well this afternoon. He's joining us. He's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. There's been a lot of optimism.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too, Scott. Happy almost Friday as well.
Yes.
A lot of optimism related to this coronavirus vaccine news the last few weeks. It seems like good news Sunday nights, Monday mornings. The market's done really well on it. Gold hasn't necessarily fared very well, but some of the individual names that you've got your eye on have as well. We've got hotel stocks, cruise stocks. Let's begin here with, well, a couple names. Let's talk leisure stocks, travel stocks, airlines. Let's begin with American, United. Across the board here, they've been bid.
They haven't been. And when you look at the travel and leisure in a whole, the sector, I think the one that really stands out, at least right now, is the airlines, because people are starting to fly a little bit right now, especially because of the holidays. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me like the psyche out there for people is it's much safer to get on an airline right now than it is to get on a cruise or even stay at a hotel, quite frankly. So to me, that's why, on the reopening side of things, that's why you're seeing the airline really bid up here. Now, with American, massive amount of volume, massive amount of call buying today. The stock is rallying. It's coming up to some pretty major resistance around 17.5. So yes, that's still about, 8-9% away, but I would watch that area there. In you all, though, United, that is one that has broken out above those June highs that we saw. So of all the airlines, I actually like United the most here. And I think that the fact that it has reached some of that technical resistance to the upside, it has more room to go.
All right, I like that. We actually have them here. If we could pull up this chart side by side, I've got United on the left. I've got American Airlines on the right. Let's just take a look at what Scott was talking about in terms of breach of some of that resistance. Scott, they need to build on this momentum to the upside at this point, but one could argue if they do, if we continue to see positive results in terms of some of the production, the manufacture, the distribution of, one could argue that there's still room to the upside here for some of these names, not just the airlines though, because you've got your eye on a couple others across the sector, but in a very similar situation that could benefit from some of the upside potential that still has to come here if things get back on track. Cruise lines, for example. Let's talk about some of the hotel stocks as well, but let's talk cruise lines. You've got Carnival, you've got Norwegian also on your radar.
Sure, and the two of them, if you overlapped the stock performance, they're almost identical. They're approaching their highs back that they saw in June. There's a massive amount of call buying in both of those stocks, both Carnival and NCLH. The difference to me is Carnival, what you're seeing today is implied volatility is really bid up. So option premium is getting very expensive, where NCLH, it's actually down a little bit. However, like I mentioned earlier, if we're looking at travel and leisure sector kind of in sum, I'd be a little hesitant jumping into the cruise lines right now because, they just announced that they're not reopening or not restarting again until maybe end of February, early March. And I think that the public perception of that is going to take a lot longer for people to get comfortable getting back on cruises as opposed to, getting in the air.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I was just hearing about some of the requirements for once they do set sail again. They're going to be pretty strict, to say the least. It'll be interesting to see if they even can fulfill some of those demands that are going to be placed on them by the CDC. I notice what you're seeing here, too, from a technical perspective as well here. I want to just kind of take a look here. If we could pull this chart up, I've got NCLH on the left. I've got Carnival Cruise Lines on the right. We were just talking about how, again, the airline stocks in terms of the nice move up and through recent resistance. Well, here you can see, Scott, this is kind of speaking to what you were just talking about. The investors haven't really participated or joined in terms of the enthusiasm here. You can see that they're still holding below these June highs.
Yeah, I'd be really cautious here. Now, listen, if the vaccines start to prove that they're being very effective, we may know that in the next few weeks here. These things do have a lot of room to run, but I'd be a little cautious right now.
All right, up above resistance here, you might be maybe a little bit more enthusiastic, it sounds like, but still, again, they have to do the proofs in the pudding here, and they've yet to get up above key levels. It looks like NCLH above the $30 level, and Carnival needs above 25 at least. Let's talk about another couple names here that have been doing pretty well. in terms of beneficiaries of the pandemic. One that's going to be reporting quarterly results here. DocuSign, a clear beneficiary of the stay-at-home trade, a stock that's up 175% in 2020. They're looking for EPS to come in at, I think it's 12 cents a share, revenue of $360.38 million. Scott, talk to us about what you're seeing here in ticker symbol DOCU in terms of what's playing out. It looks like they're up by about 8% here right now, but have been somewhat range-bound themselves.
Absolutely. This is a pretty spectacular move, actually, right ahead of the earnings print. Like you just mentioned, Ben, this stock has really been coiling. It has been range-bound for about 3 months or so. Very, very tight range. So what I expect here is a blowout, one way or the other. Honestly, I can't tell you bullish or bearish here, but because of the range-bound trade that we've seen for the last 3 months or so, I'm expecting a really, really large move post-print. And it's surprising to me that we're getting such a big move, heading into the print just an hour and a half from now.
All right, speaking of a big move headed into the print, headed into earnings, we've got Ulta on your radar as well. It looks like ticker symbol ULTA. In terms of what we're expecting, I saw revenue, EPS that is, they're looking for $1.51 a share, revenue of $155 billion. Now, yesterday we were talking about Kohl's and Sephora. Looks like, or I'm hearing about a deal that Ulta and Target have, very similar in terms of that. But hey, Ulta's breaking out here right now. They're just shy of 300.
It is breaking out, and there's a number up there right around 305 for the highs right before the pandemic started. If you go back to kind of late February here, and it sure looked like that stock wants to hit that number,
sure does.
which is not far off from what the expected move is. The market, the option market is pricing at about a $25 move. So if it is to the upside, it would actually break through that. But to me, it really looks like it wants to hit that 300 plus number.
Scott, I feel like we've been talking retail for weeks now, but one could argue and understand why. I mean, these are the names that are reporting earnings, and then ultimately, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but these retail names are going to continue to be a focus here into the holidays as well.
No doubt about it, and it's certainly a true reflection of the strength of the consumer, whether it's online or in person here. And some of the restrictions are keeping people from actually visiting the stores, but retail has been great, Ben, and we all hope to see that, because that means that hopefully this recovery is well underway.
Yeah, it's certainly has accelerated some of the e-commerce trends. Here we're seeing the Spider Retail ETF there. We're talking the XRT, and, well, it's been a pretty good reflection of what we're seeing in terms of some of these individual names. Scott Bauer, appreciate you joining us here on a busy Thursday afternoon. And, hey, get some sleep tonight, because we've got a busy Friday morning headed our way as well. That's right. Scott Bauer is the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, he's joining us this afternoon to take a look at a few stocks he's got his eye on and that are on his radar.